Hey guys, my guest tonight, Michael André Ford, is going to teach us how to communicate with angels. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're saying great. I know it's Monday. It sucks. But you know what? There's better things on the horizon, right? As the week goes on, Easter's next week, so or however you spend the weekend, you don't necessarily have to celebrate Easter, but at least it's kind of like a nice family time. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong. I'm just adjusting my cords here. We are 45 strong up and down the state. And that means we can help you. If you think you have a paranormal issue going on in your home and you need that help, we can get to you. We have people stationed all over the state. The problem is it might take us a while because it's a big state. Okay. But if it does take us a while, we do have mediums on staff that can phone you and talk with you about what's going on. And in many cases, they can calm down whatever's happening in the house before we can get the house or business before we even get out there. So just, look me up. Look me up. You can find me all over Facebook. You can find California Haunts all over Facebook. You can find us at our YouTube page, youtube.com/at California Haunts Radio. You can find us there. You can also find us at TikTok under California Haunts. You can find me on Instagram under Ghosty Gal, all lowercase. You can find me under my name here, and then there's several California Haunts pages. That being said, you knew more was coming, right? We get comfortable here. That being said, if you watch the show today and you like what you see and hear, and you haven't done so yet, please be free to follow, because the more follows we get, the higher up we go in the chain of shows, right? Also, if you like what you see, please feel free to give us a thumbs up or a heart or a smiley or whatever you deem fit, because the more of those we get, the more we're in the loop of the system to have our show seen by more people. So if you could help us out with that. All right, same thing for YouTube. If you're watching from the YouTube page, this is your first time, welcome. We're looking for subscribers, and there's a little ghost in the bottom right-hand corner. And that little ghost, if you click on it, will pop up the subscribe button and put you in to subscribe for this. And we have more than 589 videos over there. And it's all this show. But there's different topics because I don't like covering one topic. I'm a journalist, so I like to change it up and cover newsy items as well. So I'm sure if you go over there and you peruse and take a look-see around, you'll find something that suits you, that you like. So just check it out. All I ask is that you check it out. And then if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, because we're trying to get those numbers up. And again, that whole thumbs up thing and the like and the little hearts and whatever else, right? Because we're trying to get that algorithm and keep going. Because the more of those we get, the better off we are with the YouTube algorithm. Okay? All right. Now I've done that. I've said my piece. Oh, quick reminder, tomorrow or Wednesday, I did a pre-recorded show this morning, and that show is going to go up over at the Patreon, because our California Haunts Radio Patreon features shows that are pre-recorded. But see, the cool thing is that show's not going to be released to this for 2 weeks. So the people that are members of the Patreon get to see these things 2 weeks before everybody else does. So I encourage you to check our Patreon out. If you look at the description of this show, you should see it down in the description, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. So go check out our Patreon as well. Okay, that being said, have you ever wanted to touch base with your angels? I know I have. My guardian angel, I think are alcoholics. It's my fault. I've been driving them to drink all these years. But seriously, have you ever wanted to talk to your angels, or wanted to figure out how to talk to the angels? Well, my guest tonight, André Ford, is going to kind of tell us how to do that. He's going to show us. He's got a great book out about the subject, and I think you're going to enjoy this guest. So without further ado, let me bring him up. Here we go. Hello.
Hi, Charlotte. Thanks for having me on the show.
Whoa, we got some echo going on. Hang on. Something weird's going on here.
Should I put in headphones? How are we doing?
It still sounds weird. That's just weird.
Still have an echo going on?
Yeah, it's still really odd.
Do you need me to sign back on, or how about you volume down here a lot?
I hear an echo, and your voice sounds really gravelly.
Okay.
That's a little better.
A little better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, how's it now?
Nah, it's still really echoey.
Huh. Okay. Can we do a commercial or something? Do you want to try headphones at all?
Yeah, go ahead and try your headphones.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I got this covered.
Okay. I'll look at it after.
Okay. Anyway, so hopefully we'll get that up and running. Jerry, Pamela, hello, how you doing? I'm feeling good today, and like I said earlier, I have just I did a 2-hour show, a pre-record this morning, and it was a really cool one. I think you guys are going to like it a lot. But if you want early access to that, you guys have to head on over to the Patreon and sign up, and for those that haven't done that already, and you will get early access to these special shows. So it's kind of fun, right? Kind of fun. But yeah. I heard stuff today in the earlier show that I had no clue. I mean, it just totally blew me away. Really, really blew me away. So, yeah, it was impressive.
Okay, is this better for you?
Absolutely.
Yay. Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay. Well, I'm good. No problem. I'm used to it. Hey, don't feel bad. The other night I went to go on Friday night, and I had moved my mic over. It disconnected.
Oh, no bueno.
So when the show's starting, I had to have a flashlight to figure out which holes to plug it in there, and it's craziness. So we're used to stuff. That's not a problem.
Good. Well, I can crank up the volume now since I got the big headphones on.
There you go. See, I got mine on too. So tell me about you, sir.
Sure. Well, look, I'm with most of the folks in the audience about where you put your belief system, what's possible, what's not. But then you kind of go through the rabbit hole, and this is about 11 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. And I'm still every day allowing this to expand a little. So I'll back up and just say this. Most of the folks out there, you have to rely on them, and they provide you the information, or they tell you something like that. This is different. I help each person kind of go Jedi to their heart and to tap their senses, so they get the direct answers. And it's all languages, all dialects, the way they need to hear it. And so if you're from India or Japan, it's in those languages. I don't speak Hindi or Telugu. I don't speak Japanese. I don't even see the questions or answers, so it's direct. I got lucky with the camera out of a panic at the beginning, snapping photos. And so I have photos of angels, fairies, Plato. And this is a multicultural experience, not just angels, light beings, fairies, your relatives. Let's talk paranormal. Let's talk hauntings, but the happy side.
Sure.
So Aunt Martha, Uncle Joe, whoever didn't die in a bank robbery shooting with the FBI yesterday, or hasn't been walking around for 200 years wondering what's going on. The in crowd that's cheering you on every day of your life. And this is the point. You don't have to believe in any of this stuff, except that, think about it this way. Your intuition, you're a golfer, and your little voice is like, let's smack that ball. That's not quite how golfers probably talk to themselves. But, when you're in the zone and you're ready to hit the hole in one, you're at least having a really good low score day, I think. Right. So that little voice, if it was Aunt Martha, your guardian angel, and then Frank, your cousin, never met 2 generations back, but loves you and he's a big cheerleader, you would freak out and shank the ball if they just cheered you on in that moment. Sure. You got to have it as your own voice. You got to think it's you. But you do have a higher self as well, your soul, whatever you want to call it. And that also can talk to you as well. So all the good moments in life, what do you think's been going on for a lot of that intuition? And so all of this is just about pumping the brakes on worrying about this, or the thinking, or the analyzing, or the judging. I use a photograph of an angel to help a person for a prop. It's a real photo. Mm-hmm. And they look at the photo, they let go, they get to their heart. I only have one rule. I'll try to remember that, and you'll lead me to that in a second. But you look at the photo, you silently ask with your heart, you got to want to do this, you got to care. And so what's great is people in a pinch, divorce, health, they just lost their job, or just curious, but they're pushed a little bit. they're the ones who just take to this like a duck to water. So you ask, you listen, maybe for a second or two, it's your own little voice, but the second you let go, you get full personality. And remember Harry Potter, the movies and stuff with the newspaper, the images were moving.
Right.
These photos, they should be static. But like a historical photo of Audrey Hepburn, a historical photo of a figure from India, Sai Baba, the one from 100 plus years ago, they can wink, smile, nod, shoulder waggle. And this gets back to another major point. In that exact moment that you get a smile from Audrey Hepburn, Angel, or a wink or something, you get to meet your ego at that point, because part of you reacts one way. The other part says, oh my God, that was the prettiest smile. Oh my God, that was great. And it sticks with you for a long time. The other half of you is like, I'm not sure I just saw that. So you kind of get to meet the duality in you. And I think that's the biggest rub or issue or obstacle. But let's flip that. Opportunity for growth for us all. It's why Star Wars is so popular. We all have more room for just allowing a little more. And I'll say it a different way and then kind of wrap up the opening on this. It's just, you can be happy now in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. And if we took 1,000 random listeners or anybody in San Antonio where I'm at now, or LA or wherever, odds are most of us can't agree with that. Got bills to pay. This happened to me. I've got, my problem is my job isn't that great. I'm stressed. So welcome to our thinking. This isn't a show about thinking. It's a show about angels and everything else tonight, or paranormal and normal in the normal way. But in the end, that's the first hurdle. Once you get past that, go down the rabbit hole, which is just your heart, because we're talking only positivity here. That's when all the fun actually happens. So
when you talk about angels, and you mentioned like the Audrey Hepburn angel, can our family members be angels?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. And also, angels have done stints here in the past. Not every single angel. And angels come in all shapes, sizes, colors, forms, and from really far out. It depends which way you roll. Some of us like don't want to hear about galactic. Others don't want to hear about interdimensional because they live in and around us. A lot of us would rather just keep it easy, which is, hey, they're walking with us, and maybe they put their hand on the shoulder. You feel better, and then pump the brakes hard on that one because you just don't want to go there. So I'm going to back up and say one more thing, which is once you've gotten over maybe getting an answer, getting a hug, you can get one of a million different hugs. You look at the photo, you're like, hey, could I have a hug? You feel yummy in the tummy, goosebump here, back of the neck, hand on the shoulder, wind in the room, whatever you'll allow for. And this is the positive stuff, not a haunted house, which is, the other way.
Right.
But you can see full on. So in your backyard, but a lot of folks, we need to have it a football field away. But you'll see Audrey without wings, and make sure you do it both ways, then with wings. And she does it with a lot of fanfare, sparkles. And here's the crazy part of this, again, just to kind of be in the seat that most of the audience is going to be listening or watching from right now. If two sisters do it, they're getting along, and they've done it separately, like a game show with those walled off booths so they can't know, and they both did great. They can do it together. So I'm like off the hook. The photos are nice. They help. They get you started. But you can get joint feeling, seeing, hearing. So it's wild. And Native American chiefs, figures from India, Plato, non-denominational, name somebody, Einstein, Marcus Aurelius, Steve Jobs. So there is a bit of a unconditional love. We'll call them spirit guide posse that's just here to cheer you on.
Well, I can say late one night I walked into my mother's room. Ooh. When she was elderly, and I saw my grandmother standing right at the foot of the front of the bed where my mother's head was, and she was stroking my mother's forehead.
I love it.
Yeah.
So my only thing is I always try to do a few angels first. If somebody's really intent on meeting a relative, just they got to own that part. And there's just a couple little steps. I describe it as 50 steps, 30 steps of letting go. But one act of good letting go could be half of that. So it's really just, a lot of us, it takes a lifetime to go from here to here. We had it as a kid. We had it in high school in that sports team, but life got serious somehow. We got that illness, 2 divorces, and we're done with life, and we're not so much fun anymore. So this is about a lot of, I don't like to say inner work or anything like that. It's kind of instant, but you have to be willing to get out of what you know. It's all going to come back. There's none of this surrender, your identity's gone or anything like that. It's just, or too kumbaya. But it is in the moment, pure listening. So pretend it's Frank, your neighbor you haven't seen in a month, but it's the person that lights up your world. You look forward to bumping into him at the supermarket. you wouldn't be thinking about the laundry you left in the washing machine wet at home when you see Frank at the supermarket. You're actually listening. So that's all this is basic stillness, setting your intent, and a little bit of openness, and then angels do the rest.
So I teach people basic psychic development, and how to go into a meditative state to meet their spirit guides, and go into the spirit library and all that. Is it a similar procedure?
Yeah, and you can see your auras. Celestine Prophecy, the movie Redfield, they do it this way. It's got the Band of Brothers actor in it, Edward James Olmos, the Miami Vice Police Chief, and some others in it. But they do it this way. But you can do it this way in India is the way they do it. You'll see a filament of light. So wonderful colors. But if two people do it independently again, and they each put a finger out, they can be half the glow stick and see the force between them. But keep extrapolating, they can see a lot of force, a lot of light between them. And then if they kept backing up on a football field, you can go quite the distance away. First, you can just feel it. It's a lot easier for us to not tap all our senses at once, but to gradually just feel the energy, not heat, not touching, not this, but really far out. And that's where then if you'll allow to see the light, but what gets crazy, so you're seeing a lot of, we'll call it universal love consciousness. Joseph Campbell in The Power of Myth with Bill Moyers talks about that energy, consciousness is energy. And that's again, the force. But angels could come in and make butterflies come out of that, or a little flare, a purple heart. So it's really a lot of Disney special effects, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. Angels aren't hung up with the thinking that we have, because we're going to, if anyone out there, who's watching this, they have to start grasping it, judging it. Well, what about this? What about that? And it's actually just a heck of a lot easier. You can't do all that if you're about to get on a roller coaster. You have to just actually buckle up. You do this a little bit, which is probably similar to the meeting angels at the beginning. And then finally you let go and enjoy the ride. We probably should pick more of a river rafting thing than a roller coaster. So
for someone that wants to do this, and I know I've got people out in the chat room right now that are eager to meet their angels. Is there a way I had a question the other day too. Is there a way that they can get their angel's name if it's not a family member? Are they able to even communicate with them enough to get a name?
Yeah. Look, people sit for 9 hours and get answers. I think 48 pages by an Australian's the record. I only check in every 2 hours. With pen and paper, it's a little easier. It's not an official rule. If I run into somebody at a supermarket, a bookstore, a parking lot, but so you can have any answers, any questions, all dialects, all languages spoken. So it's totally direct. But the most important thing is it's also said the way your value system works. You hate the New York Jets, but your cousin loves the New York Jets. He's doing it. You're doing it. They know how to navigate the minefield of how we all roll. That's why your individuality stays intact. You hear it, though, the way that fires you up. So you can get concrete action steps. Pretend you're at job X, but you're not that happy. And you have inner passions, inner hobbies. A lot of us let a lot of dust accumulate. We don't do what we're supposed to be doing. Cousins are telling us, hey, you should put those paintings in a gallery. And ego's top 10 lines is I know you're right. I really should. And 2 years later, you're still saying the same thing. So part of this is to jumpstart you into more living, more breathing, more smiling, all the little small charms of life that are actually what success is. Once you're living here, I think the angels said 7% less thinking a week is it. That's it. Gold medal, Olympic gold medal for you, Olympic gold medal for me. A little less worry, a little less thinking, a little more cha-cha-cha in your kitchen for no reason at all. But I want to make sure you can have concrete answers. And that's really important for people to understand. It's not just some woo-woo-woo spiritual thing. You can get help, decision-making. So 3 Native American chiefs out of a bunch of them, fantastic at that. When my dad died in 1970, I was 2, and it's a long story, but it's kind of what kickstarted this whole thing 11 or 12 years ago. And those guys are unconditional love spirits. Meet a few angels, meet them, and it's almost easier to hear them. They're a little more down to earth, pun intended. And it's Dolnay for Red Geronimo. And everyone's heard of Geronimo. He's pure action. He's a delight. There's a lot of humor. So first of all, you don't have any privacy, but you're also not getting judged. So thank God for that. It's not like you're getting all the parking tickets or the speeding tickets you should have gotten that the cops never caught you for. It's not that. And it's not like in the shower you're worried about anything. So actually, that's one of the best times that you're the most open for either creative or anything. So let's back up. There's somebody out there who's like, oh, hey, yeah, this sounds good. I want to maybe meet my angels. My only rule is set your intent, and you don't have to worry about that much. You don't even have to put your hand on your heart like a Boy Scout, Girl Scout pledge. But here it is. Angels, get me out of my head, into my heart. Make this nice. Amen, rock and roll. Thank you. From India, Om Sai Ram. And if you need to tailor it a little because you're a big fan of Mary, Mother Teresa, Plato, whoever, add them in, but make sure you include angels. And if you're also not so sure on your second half skills, you're listening, you're feeling, you're seeing, that's okay. Don't doubt it. And that's what my job is. I kind of kick you over the fence pretty quick, and you're in the pool swimming like an Olympic swimmer. You're Michael Phelps. But right now, most of us, in the audience's shoes would think you can't do it. No way. But the second you get going, you realize, oh my God, it's parallel to my golf game. It's like flipping a light switch. It's like brushing my teeth. You don't obsess about brushing your teeth. You don't beat yourself up over it. But the big stuff, that's it. Debt, credit cards, jobs, divorce, relationships. You don't have a love in your life. You're not doing enough self-love. All that stuff, that's what kind of brings us down a little. And this isn't what that is. This is getting you out of that. A lot of crying, a lot of yawning as people shed what they've been carrying around with repetitive thinking for a long time.
I agree with you in that it's within us, because I know from experience as a paranormal investigator, we're born with abilities. But like you say, as life progresses and we get involved with business and problems and everything, a lot of people suppress that.
Exactly.
And then it has to come back out. And for me, I suppressed mine for a while, and then it was a trigger when I joined my first paranormal group, and there were psychics on this group. It brought all that out, and then I was having the visions and stuff. So,
can I blow sage through two screens to you in a little bit? Okay,
sure.
So for those watching and those just listening, I'm lighting some traditional American sage, white sage. Kind of the Native American cultural thing, but you can get this one from Juniper Ridge at Whole Foods, any Whole Foods. It's very Steady Eddie is a brand. So I've got a lighter up. I'm lighting it in a tea light. I did this on like 20 shows last year. So the hosts, the producers, some audience members could smell it. This is in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Germany, US, of course. And here's the big deal. Give yourself a break and just think of your favorite Mandalorian show or anything that fires you up. Make that request. Hey, universe, I forgot to mention universe, just universe and angels, make it happen. Help bring me the scent through two screens. Some people taste it on their mouth instead of smelling it. It's just energy. So for those who need one extra tip of letting go, breathe deep, exhale like a whale, mouth open 1 millimeter. I'm taking a red-tailed hawk feather and I'm blowing it Charlotte's way right now. And you only have to leave your eyes on the smoke and see if you can catch a taste. Now, I'm going to tell a dad joke. If anybody laughs out there, that's pure letting go. So here it is. Santa's reindeer, Blitzen, Dancer, just those two. Why do they drink so much coffee, Blitzen and Dancer? Because they're Santa's Starbucks. Exactly. And Charlotte, are you getting a little whiff at all?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, then I'm going to stop so I don't smoke out my room. But look, I've got this, if you don't mind me mentioning it, I just put it up tonight on a YouTube short on my YouTube channel.
Sure.
I've got it all over my YouTube, and longer ones too, where you get more time, or you can just play the short over again. But also go to any of the shows where I was a guest. This one in particular, watch this show 50 times, like it, subscribe, share. You heard Charlotte earlier before the show started. I'm a good guest.
You're a good guest. You're an excellent guest.
Like all ghosts, when you ask a ghost, are you a good ghost or a bad ghost? They all say, I'm a good ghost. So
until they turn bad.
Yeah.
Will people be able to recognize the angels? I mean, like you talked earlier about, family members that are angels, but angels come in different forms. Did they come in a form that you can recognize? Is what I'm asking.
Okay, so they'll show a bunch of different ways, and like in a million ways, actually. They could be just a little bit of light on the peripheral. Like I just had a ball of light angel right here by one of my lights. They can be full on standing. They come in human form. Please come back to this later, Charlotte. We're going to blow minds. So pretend you were just asking for it, or it's the right time on your sort of journey this lifetime. And
right.
You need this stranger to show up because you've been having a bad rut and you're not supposed to have it that bad. It's the sparkly eyed stranger who just opens the door at the coffee shop for you They say just what you were thinking this morning, saying to Frank, the neighbor, or what you were saying yesterday or saw in the movie last night. And you get scrambled a little. You're like, oh, thank you. And you get caught off guard. And for 3 weeks, you're wondering who that stranger was. But I'm going to add one thing. Angels are much more available now. So for those who are bold, that 2%, 25%, I hope it's 40% for this audience. Grab that angel for a cup of coffee right away. Just be like, hey, do you got time? If you're the bold type, I'm not. 2 years for me to learn anything you would have just done, like smelling sage. I'm grabbing a camera out of panic at the beginning because I'm seeing, I'm hearing. So yeah, angels, all shapes, sizes, colors. I want to just not caution. Getting your guardian angel, like meeting your guardian angel, yeah, huge, big. I want people to meet their own angels. I rarely get to do that. There's so many 170 figures on the front end, and it's really about somebody getting comfortable in their skin and owning their skill set. And so it's your boundaries getting pushed back so you're one with the universe in that moment. That's why you can smell the sage. That's why you can see your light. That's why you can see your soul in the sky, a blue sky. You can see Aurora Borealis daytime, which is your higher self. That's a lot to take in. That's why you can see a bunch of angels. You could see, Michael, Audrey Hepburn, an angel named Joy there, plus like a couple big figures, name something, Mary, Jesus, but also Geronimo, and then Uncle Frank. You just check. I always have you check directly about, is it okay? Because you've got to own it. They've got to own it. And then you do the merry making. That's how it works. And then you just chat away with your relative and get a hug and stuff like that. You can feel an angel like Audrey Hepburn holding your hand. If you can just get the hugs done first, see how the baby steps work. You're not going to allow for a hand holding unless you're really bold. You're going to want like just a goosebump first, or a whoosh down the back, or yummy in the tummy. We have so many restrictions. It's almost like we're looking at the tips of our shoes permanently, and we never look up at the sky. Or we'll do it the other way. We look up at the sky all the time. We never look down and realize we're wearing the Marvel superhero costume, and we've got all the skills, like you were saying earlier. Or Mandalorian. We've got the Mandalorian, that special armor and everything else. Yeah.
When I'm thinking about this, because I have friends that have trouble meditating or calming themselves down enough, to get to that point. Do you have any advice for people like that?
Absolutely. And I used to get that all the time. I used to have, it was such a privilege 8 years ago or so, helping people meditate, just because I was like that as well. I like to cheat a little bit, and cheating by that, I just mean some tips, some shortcuts. Grab a comfortable pillow wherever you do it. Do not do it where you sleep. Number one rule. That's unofficial, but hey, just find a comfortable spot, lie on the floor, put a beach towel down. If you need to get stuffed animals and it works for you, great, get a pillow. But how about Radiohead, right? Lotus Flower, the famous band. It's exactly 5 minutes. Put it on repeat. That your brain has to seize on something. It wants a life preserver. It wants to fight everything we've talked about. Feeling, seeing energy, seeing an angel, listening. It wants to doubt every step of the way. It'll say, yeah, I'm going to do this next Tuesday, and 2 months go by and you never got it done. It's like mowing the lawn or your New Year's Eve resolutions. But for meditating, just give yourself permission to let go, lie down, play that music, and it's going to seize on the music and calm down a lot. And let angels come onto your eyelids as color. So your eyes are shut, and you can have lucid dreams that way, and so on. That's really a great way to start. I kind of go around that a little bit. I just give you a direct experience. So then meditating just becomes an alternative, easier form to not have to do it directly. So the way ego works, again, is if we had 5 or 7 activities all at once, so like juggling balls, ego can only block 1 or 2 of those balls. So if I'm blowing sage to you while also holding up a photo of an angel, and I've got those, I'll put them up in a sec if you want. You can look at the photo. You can let the photo try to move, wink, smile if it's historical, change color if it's ball of light. You ask a question, you get an answer, you ask for a hug. We're juggling a lot of balls here, but you can also ask for your favorite flower smell in the air. So on top of the sage, or Hawaii coming in. I love doing Hawaii for folks. So at some point, the ego is just like, oy vey, I got to give up. And it's like a biplane with a half tank of gas. It's got to go back to the hangar. Your heart's an F-16. And the biggest message I could tell everybody out there is, where are you fierce? Is it poker? Is it sports? Is it headed to the bar and hanging out with friends? Probably not my best example. On the soccer field, your work. What do you enjoy? Are you an artist, singer? Whatever that talent is where you let go, you're like, oh, I love life. Okay. It could be the little things too. Just a cup of tea if you're, British. But whatever you're doing there, it's the same letting go to do something either you're not comfortable with, cooking, yoga, or it's yoga and we're talking cooking. It's the same letting go. And then when we talk angels, we think it's really big, or meeting Mary, Jesus. I mean, people freak out when it's a really big religious figure, big India figure in particular, like Sai Baba. So they get tighter. They can meet 40 angels, but they stumble on the final big figure. They've seen them, they've gotten hugs, they've gotten their answers, but because they have so much attachment to a really big name, that's the one little, or their guardian angel. That's never start with your guardian angel. Start with everybody else. For some reason, it's just in our DNA. We make it such a big deal for the guardian angel. So I've got a couple ways to also get around that. You just have to kind of, you're learning to trust your electricity or plumbing, what's already in place. And think of everyone's a Google fiber optic cable. But now we're grabbing AT&T and somehow merging it. So you double the diameter. That's all this is. And you have to trust this much, or I should say, oh, I love it. I did it with the camera. I'm cheating. The distance thing. So you got to go from the head to the heart. And that's the distance, but it's going to feel like you're leaping off a waterfall that's 2 miles down through fog. And you're not even sure water's in the lake down below today. So, I mean, it's scary. You might as well do everything else in the world. Go take every other seminar, read every spirituality book, do this, do that. You'll avoid it like the plague. But at the end of the day, it's that quick. And you'd be amazed at how fast any random person does everything.
Now, you mentioned guardian angels. What is the difference between dealing with them and dealing with the regular? I'm not saying regular angels, because I mean there's no regular angels. Angels are angels. But why is it so difficult to deal with the guardian angels?
Just think of it this way. I think it's our psyche. It attaches to the idea that we've got a special angel. And so it's a little harder to let go on that one front. That guardian angel, by the way, might be your guardian angel, but might be just part of another person's team without being their guardian angel. So what's ironic is your friend Fred might meet that angel as part of their team, but because it's your guardian angel, there's some subconscious importance. So over time, I'll have to mention it this way. So we're talking meditating. And I think meditating is great the normal way. Just shut your eyes, do whatever. You could be sitting upright, you could be lying down, you could do music, no music. But I do guided meditations for 40 seconds. I get in at the front end, and it's more universal. Time doesn't equal what we think it does. So 5 minutes of our time is 10 minutes with angels. You have India come to you, or a Tibetan setting, or an oasis in the Middle East, or Hawaii. It's my favorite. And you get to sit with angels, chiefs, your relatives. Think of all the different cultural figures out there: Plato, Einstein, Steve Jobs, whoever. But it's a little posse. You could have a tribal kind of ceremony, medical. You get your answers, you share food. It's joyous. But Hawaii, you get to go surfing. You might not know how to swim or surf, but it's a little bit like out of that movie, The Matrix, where he learns how to fly a chopper in 2 seconds. Right. Angels just make it nice, and they make the waves perfect. No sharks. You just know how to surf. And so that's a lot to handle, but I got to mention it this way. So I've done this for a lot of hosts, I'll help them before the show. I'll help them a week or two after. So grab me. Or during the show, even for some sage and some other stuff. But 2 hosts, one in California, one in Florida, had me on. And then later we did a session like a week later or something, and they know each other. They're comfortable. So there's no issue there. They were closing their eyes and they're having a guided meditation. I pull out in about 40 seconds. Angels take over. They got to go surfing in Hawaii, but they got to see each other on the set of waves, and their eyes are shut. They're on different coasts. And so it's more than just meditation. It's not lucid dreaming. It's not Aboriginal dream time, but it's something in there like that we'll just call angel time. And I'll mention it this way. In person, I was at Omega Institute, which is a fantastic place up by West Point. It's had thousands and thousands of people. Thích Nhât Hanh, it's had Ram Dass there, who have taught everything under the sun. It's kind of like an Oprah studio practically. But I had people who did this. 2 people knew each other before the 3-day event, and a third came in. They're all, I think, under 30. They all got to see each other with their eyes closed surfing. So they were sharing consciousness, is the best way to say it. And so I guess let's go back to the biggest picture to do a little inspiration for everybody. Absolutely doubt anything you want to doubt here. But here's the big message. If there are no limits in life, maybe there are really no limits. And try to just compartmentalize it at first. Give yourself a break. Don't think about this. Apply it to one little quadrant of your life. But here's what I was trying to get to earlier. We compartmentalize everything, and we don't give ourselves enough love, enough credit. And that's where we don't give ourselves credit for brushing our teeth, falling asleep at night on the good nights. And that's the degree of difficulty for letting go. that jumpstarts this whole thing. For some reason, it's more available now.
It's all interesting. So when somebody comes to you, what's the process you go through?
I try to get them some warm-up sheets. So it's 3 figures they talk to across the top, questions down the side. I always do a puff question. Never start with your hard stuff. It would be like starting with your guardian angel. There's just too many expectations up there. I mean, you've got 170 other figures, and I'm not counting all the angels on people's teams that, I've met over time. There's a lot of angels by the tens of thousands probably. But so they learn to just trust basic listening. They start off by smelling some sage through 2 screens. We know it's not possible, but it totally is. We start off by also seeing our light. And what's great is if you have a loved one around, they did it. Again, they can each be half the glow stick. They can see their energy. You can look at the dog, see its energy. And here's a great exercise for anybody tomorrow morning waking up, or next weekend if you're more relaxed. Before you have your cup of coffee, before you've taken the shower, before you brush your teeth, if you can remember those recessed pot lights, the old school style, not the flat little thin ones, first thing in the morning, check it out in your kitchen. It should be rainbow light all around them. Like when you were a kid and swam for 10 hours too long in the pool and your eyes are shot. Everything's rainbow light everywhere. Right. Look at it before you even can speak any English. That's your natural state. The second you see rainbow light, the size of a beach ball, your brain's going to kick in. You're going to hear that little voice, meet your ego. Welcome to having an ego. It's not going away. We all have one. Your brain's going to kick in with maybe at first, hey, it's pretty, but then, hey, what am I seeing? And you'll notice it shrinks a little. As you judge it more, it goes boop. And then finally you're thinking all the way and it's boop, gone. You can bring it back, but that's for the really chillaxed crew out there. And there's a lot of folks who just have natural, they were in the army. They always stayed cool and calm. They're cool with all this. So you're seeing that energy all the time. And the only practical example I could give is at the supermarket. You've gotten everything else. You got to get the milk. There's 2 guys arguing by the milk. And you're like, I will go pick up some more vegetables. I'll come back in 10. They'll be gone. You've just sensed something. And that's all it is. You've given yourself permission to see it. And it's always been there. People have accidentally seen auras, in certain situations. But my message is you don't have to have your SUV roll over, go off a cliff, and you miraculously were the only one that survived to now go full on with what we'll call the other side. But I'll say it's I do transdimensional channeling is one way to say this for a multidimensional experience, if you want to go that way. And otherwise, I crack people open like a walnut just to help them get over their own stuff so they can get going, living more, having more fun, and also getting any help, anytime, 24/7. But good luck remembering to remember if you remember when you remember, because we get too busy up here again.
Right. So essentially, I had a friend nearly go over a cliff in her car, and it was weird because she claimed that as she went over, a voice said, "Don't worry, it's going to be fine." I mean, would that be an angel?
Probably, yeah. And if anyone saw Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts, she's in the bathroom early on in that movie. She knows her marriage is toast and she's bawling like a baby. But she keeps saying, I think to God, she's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And a voice comes in and says, go to bed, Elizabeth. And if you've seen the movie, it's a great moment, but that was her guardian angel. And then think of it this way. Let's do one more from that story, or at least the book. It talks about the Italian statue, the old man who goes for a year straight. Every night he cries at this Italian statue. Maybe it's a patron saint. He's like, why haven't I won the lotto? When am I going to win the lotto? 1 year straight, every night at like 7 p.m. And finally, the statue comes alive and says, will you buy the damn lotto ticket? Exactly. But that's all of us as the old man, and all of us, it's Elizabeth in the bathroom crying. This is a lot to take in. And what's crazy, it goes back to the theme of you could be happy right now for no reason at all. And good luck with that. So that's why just toss everything you hear tonight. But can you take an extra breath, a smile, a little cha-cha-cha for no reason at the supermarket, in the kitchen, glass of wine, whatever, read a book in the sunlight. So we're talking an extra 2 hours a day of freedom for you. And you do that, it's the equivalent of the meditating, equivalent of going to a seminar at Omega, equivalent of either Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, somebody instructing you. Learn to instruct yourself, which is hitting that heart button here. The more you hit it, the more the universe gets to do its job. You get out of your own way and you start to discover that Jedi inner you, the authentic power, the authentic self, and watch. You don't have to worry about the how for anything. And this is going to sound totally contrary or contrarian. And this is where I'm still at, is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't have to work as hard. What are you talking about? It's let the universe do its job. Let the universe worry about the how. And I think there's one of these books up there, The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, The Desert Story, little short one. If you want to read one book, it's pretty good. Let the universal forces are in place to deliver the goods. And that's also Esther Hicks' Law of Attraction. So it is a little bit of faith. We'll call it non-religious, religious faith. Again, it's letting go of all this thinking and judging, reacting, fear, stress, worry that totally blocks living and possibility, and that locks you down tight. Plato's cave. A jail cell, you're holding on the bar windows, looking out, saying, woe is me, I got lack. My problem is, you're looking out, you want to be somewhere else. You think something's got to happen in your life. Jail cell door is open. Get to here and realize the world's your oyster. Good luck with that.
Wow. And how many angels surround us?
A lot of people out there these days, I hear these numbers. They'll tell you the number that are with you. I'll describe it a different way. It's a stretch limo. Okay. You've got a stage in life. It could be 2 days, 3 weeks, 3 years. It could be a lifetime for a lot of us if you don't want to pay attention. So pay attention a little more is all I have to say with that earlier stuff. But your limo driver is an angel who's here to help you with specific skills. Now, I don't know people's where they are in life, but trust me, there's a lot of different stages. And for those eager beavers who are like really good studiers, they love to knock off lessons. Don't think of it that way. Like you knock off 7 lessons. It's not really about the lessons. It's about just being more open, a little more love, learning that that's what your whole path is about while you're here. Appreciate more, a lot more. I'm not saying you can't go do Wall Street or write 6 books. Do it. And you can get that book, by the way, from Angels, full on everything, the whole thing, front to back. So the stretch limo, even if you learn 7 lessons pretty quick, you'll get 20 more. So it's not about that. Like it's not, you can't game the system. They're already way ahead of you. Just think of angels as pure light. They're not hampered or strung up with the whole time space thing or thinking. So that's pure clarity. Also, you have to set your intent. Think of it this way. You're getting the best experience every moment imaginable. Now, none of us would agree to that half the time during the year because we're like, whoa, I just got in a car wreck. What are you talking about? How is this good for me? But a lot of times when you look back with that rear view thing, you're like, oh, no, the divorce was actually fabulous. I met the love of my life, my soulmate 10 years later, 2 years later. It frees you up. And there's got to be something in an ebb and flow in your life. You would not want to be happy all the time. No one would talk to you. So, so there's got to be some contrast. Now, in the body of the limo, you've got a Secret Service agent. That's your guardian angel. They never leave you. Just if it's helpful, begin picturing this now. If you're a ball of light, they're just in the ball of light with you. So if you want to set your intent more for better boundaries, really sensitive people, which is half of us and we don't know it. It's why we gain weight. We feel bad when we get around certain people. They data dump on us or we get their emotions. We can't shake it. Start asking now. And I'm saying that with like a deep guttural, do it. Ask for better boundaries. Let them handle the load. If you've got worries, have them. They've got wheelbarrows. They got big shoulders. Just dump. Be like, hey, carry all my thinking for me. Help me let go. And a lot of people, I've got a little show I started at the beginning of the year. Beautiful guests. They're all show hosts. They've all met angels with me. They're all authors, healers, whoever. They're fun folks. But a lot of them have been talking about gratitude, appreciation. If you can say thanks for anything and start that opening, it's an opening to your heart where suddenly you can breathe easier. Instead of breathing up here and it's a kind of a fake breath, you start to get down into your chest. And another guest just said down to your belly. And one of them said down to your toes. Good luck with that one. So there's something about just being more comfortable in your skin again. As a kid, you knew it, but adulting finished us all off.
Fascinating. And how many years? How many years have you been doing this?
10 or 11, and we've got video right now. Is it okay to put a few photos up?
Sure.
Okay, so this one's a silhouette of my guardian angel. She's kind of like light waves of energy in water. And I always have people put their palms out to the screen. You can pause this, come back and play it. But give yourself permission to let go. Ask angels to do everything, to jump into your ball of light if you need lingo. Put your palm up to the screen, like smelling the sage. See if you can catch a little bit of energy. If you're too focused up top in the brain, like say angels, hey, get me out of my head, into my heart, make this nice, help me feel. You might get sparkle on your toes or a whoosh down your back. And you could ask, if you're already doing it, ask for your favorite beach you miss, Rehoboth in Delaware, or Florida, or overseas, Canary Islands, Philippines, or Hawaii. and you can get that ocean smell. Now, what's crazy is you don't need a photo to do it. So you're stuck in line at the post office and you have to mail a registered letter. Half an hour, you're going to be stuck there. You can make the most of it. Same thing with vacuuming. Suddenly mowing the lawn ain't so bad anymore. I mean, I know you get music, but you can be chatting with an angel. You could just be getting hugs. There's healing in the hugs, by the way. It's between you and angels on that. Some stuff's written if it's a big disease or something. Here's the way I'll say it is just too much thinking is not good for any of us. We know it. We're all like Scrooge, the beginning of the book. We get too serious. We take ourselves and others too seriously. We bump heads. We don't do enough self-love. No, I don't know anybody except for a few glowing folks that cut themselves a break and just breathe and relax. Think of it this way. When you fell in love or when you just went for a great nature hike, that vibration, that's a constant. It's in you and around you. But put on the news for too long or talk to that one cousin who's got, Debbie Downer. Not to knock Debbie. I'm sure she's on her way in the limo getting lots of help. But the point is we have life happen and we get topsy-turvy and we get knocked off the saddle. So when you go back to, you could be happy now in this very moment with no reason whatsoever. We're not talking angels. It's the scariest thing to consider. It's the scariest thing for ownership of how we're flowing our energy. I mean, it sucks because suddenly the divorce, you can't blame the other party anymore. You have to you have a broader, compassionate perspective that you go, oh my God, I was partly responsible for flowing some energy. And here's the crazy part of this. If you're judging people, you're not really judging them. This is the Wayne Dyer quote. You're totally impacting yourself. You're confining, restricting, constricting yourself in the flow of life, the force. It's the Darth Vader thing. So if you could only see your energy when you spoke or when you had certain thoughts, and guess what? With all this, you can. So put it all together. It's up to you to figure out the difference between thinking, unconsciousness, and awareness, love, possibility, no limits. There's a million things that all the experts, the philosophers, the religions, name Eckhart Tolle. He'll have a description for this, or Buddhists, and for this. So it's up to each person out there to do their own figuring out. And it may take 2-3 lifetimes. It may take 2 to 3 minutes with this conversation. And I say, don't even try. Let an angel help you out. Just be like, hey, or Geronimo, unconditional love spirit guide. Geronimo, what do I need to know? Craziest answer somebody got like 2 months ago was, get on that horse and ride, ride, ride. Don't look left. Don't look right. Don't look back. Now I'm no matter if anything that's sharp today that I've said has actually just come straight from angels. And after doing it for 11 years, I'll sound sharp, but I'm as clueless as the next person and I'm still figuring everything out. I finally figured out a couple weeks later, the horse was the heart. And so you ride, and it could be anything, starting that business, changing jobs, changing cities, following that relationship you were scared to because the family doesn't like her or him or whatever, the heart knows. And now we're back to like literature or romance. What are those romance movies called? The rom-coms or whatever. Right, you got to follow your heart. And that's just another one of those scary, better not,
So if someone's really stressed out and they come to you, and I'm talking really stressed because there's a lot of stuff going on right now where people don't have a lot of money to buy food, because we're right in the middle of it. There you go.
I sage them right away. And so I don't carry that energy home with me because they dump it on me. If I get a hug after I've done a good job at a bookstore, I have to clear out before I get in my car. It builds up in my house. My fire alarms go off. I throw a window open and I do that Native American, the white sage. Right. You can just ask angels though, for those who love shortcuts. There's people who are like just sharp and they know, well, why would I take 5 classes here when I can take 1 class here? And they're smart about it. You can just ask angels, hey, clear my house, clear my property, clear my being. I just was at a really contested meeting and people are fighting. I'm now having thoughts that are not my own, or I'm stressed. Okay. Part of this is just figuring out like, hey, this isn't really me. You're not your thoughts. I'm going to borrow from Peaceful Warrior, Deleted Scene, Dan Millman. Love his stuff. Check out the Gymnastics movie. It's like a Disney movie. It's an adult Karate Kid. So the Mr. Miyagi figure is a gas station attendant. I'll make the argument he's an angel. I'll leave it at that. So it's really a gymnastics, Olympic thing. The guy gets into a wreck, told he's never going to walk again, but it's got Zen in it. And I'd argue it's totally spiritual in a safe way. So you have no limits. You've got thinking and there's unpleasant stuff. You get stressed, you react, you touch someone's energy that 4 days later, you're still thinking about it. You're upset. You can't let stuff go. Trust that you have a big heart. Find a way in. There's a million ways to be mindful, those meditation, mindfulness practices, but just basic gratitude. appreciation, find the littlest thing. My dog, my cat. I love my cat. Your thought's going to be like, but Frank at work was a jerk. I love my cat. Frank at work was a jerk. You're going to get pulled. You have to own those steps. Blow a little sage, light a candle safely, prayer beads, whatever. I mean, there's a million ways to do it. Crystals, rocks, tingshaws. Recognize that everything's energy. And if you truly set your intent, you let angels come into your space, and it's like a candle, like the Buddhist expression that shadows fade. Learn to own your space better. I grew up and moved 25 to 40 plus times, some military background stuff. And I never viewed any apartment or house that I lived in as mine. And that was a rough lesson for me about 11 or 12 years ago at the beginning. It's a long story, but I got a lot of help from the universe. I got my ass kicked basically first to take any of this stuff seriously. Not that I was being thumbing my nose at it or anything. It's just I was clueless. And so there's way more going on in the universe than our brains are ever going to allow for. And so kind of, again, laugh at this a little. But if you can allow for the possibility that your relatives could help you out, they see where you're at. They're cheering you on. They don't want to interfere for the most part. They'll give you constant love. They'll try to help where they can, a little more than maybe the non-interference from angels. But you're getting the best experience, because if you don't learn the basics on how to ride the bike, which is your heart, and you don't figure out what's the difference between when you fell and you had a great time riding. Great time riding is here. When you fell and got scrapes, it's when you stay up here and you're thinking about Frank back at work. That's the basics of life. Basics of life are like figuring out what the true meaning of life is. And I don't mean curly and, city slickers, the one thing, which is exactly what it is. Actually, it's how do you breathe more, allow more, and go back to that 6-year-old you or 15-year-old you, or the you from 2 years ago who had it all, was really relaxed, and your presence was so nice that people liked being around you. You liked being around you. Just practice more love, and it's never too late. So if you're 99 and you're like, hey, I've just blown the last 40 years, you haven't. There's no actual time in a sense. Sorry to put it out there that way, but hey, so time and space isn't quite what we think. No matter what water's under the bridge, your ego wants to pull the clipboard out and totally beat you up over it. It's got a checklist. It's going to be, even if you bought into any one thing we talked about today, it's still going to come up with a checklist. That's why it's going to be harder next week. And it's working very hard on making this complex. It's the easiest thing in the world, like literally riding a bike.
I'm looking in the chat room and see what lots of hellos and stuff. I got some comments where they're really into what you're saying. Let me ask you about the bad energy coming in from people. Okay, how does that feel when it hits you? And I know there's people that have more of a presence than other people have, and so if they have this stuff coming in with them, does it feel different for each person?
Well, I mean, I can do it this way for like a juicy story. I'm at a bookstore once, skip the city, and I'm on my own time. So I'm looking at books in a certain category, and I look over and I'm like, I kind of got like a doorbell ring, and I'm psychic, but my whole gist is try not to use it, because everyone's crazy psychic, like better than your best expert, except for Tyler Henry. Check out his stuff. So you've got these incredible talents, but none of us think that we can do it. So we want everybody to do our work for us. We won't do our own listening, our own letting go, our own healing. And that could be like this. So I see someone and I'm human. I'm like, hey, I really don't want to help them right now. I'm like, I got my first free time. I'm at a bookstore, when you get into the zone, and I've always found I get 3 shots at someone. So I change aisles and change genres. Now I'll make it up. Romance mysteries. I don't know if they exist, but they show up again. And I start laughing and I'm like, still not ready to let go, because I've, been doing a lot of work. I start chatting, and then I do the energy thing, and then I hear about the pastor of a relative or whoever it is. And I start to pull out a photo, and I do what I do, and they get what they need. They get hugs. They feel better. But I hadn't learned boundaries that well. Like, you're supposed to bubble up better. So it's going off over the Pacific to Russia, the energy, not on you. And that's the thing is, if they throw a hug on you to say thanks, which why wouldn't you? I like hugs. It's just, that's the final last bit of Samsonite luggage gets dumped. And then you had better be good at clearing out. So there's tons of people who get this and they just get it. Like, I'm still so slow that you have to have a way to grasp it. And it's not that I'm an idiot. It's just, and I took calculus in 9th grade, taught myself algebra in 7th. It's just, it takes me years to kind of grasp. And when I do, I own it. I teach like this. But so that energy that day piggybacked all the way to the house, and we had a lot of stuff happen. The teenage kid was with us. It wasn't that he was evil. It wasn't that he was great either. But like, peeping Tom in the shower, lights going on and off. And then I hate to say this is like the worst part of any of this for the show. But like I had this great thick glass, tall flower vase. It got like lasered through down while it was still in the cabinet down below. And some of my pasta jars for gardening had knife holes in them. Now that was just a teenager acting up. I know that sounds like paranormal crazy, but and by that I mean there's tons of paranormal out there. But we got that guy out of the house. You just ask angels. So how can you blindly trust? And here's a fairy's photo, Ginger. And I have her so many different ways. Fairies one angel could do it all. So don't get hung up on hierarchy, titles. It doesn't have to be Archangel Michael. I mean, include them. Here's 4 archangels: Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. 3 more are off camera. It's Zadkiel, Shamuel, and Jophiel. But how many years did it take me to say those complicated names? That was the number of years I didn't meet them because it was so complex. So I'm really here to tell you this is the easiest thing ever. I'm enthusiasm, so everyone, bump me down a couple notches. I love telling dad jokes. If you can laugh, if you can think of your sports or your art or just cooking that dish that you really enjoy and everyone else enjoys because you definitely know how to do it, or just watching Yellowstone. I mean, I know it's violent, but there are moments that are good, especially like earlier seasons.
Right.
You're in the zone, and that's all this is. You're in your heart. Oh, and so it's allow, ask, receive. Don't think of it as religious. Don't think of it as universal. Think of it as universal. Think of it as it's got to be your way. It's Burger King 1980s. But you do have to do kind of the inner fearless, peaceful warrior thing. I'm banging my heart right now on my chest. You got to own it, and you have to find your way of saying enough. If it's work stress, if it's like relationships, if you're not finding the loved one out there, start loving yourself more till your vibrations off the charts. Pump that sucker up. Don't go for shortcuts. Go for the long term. And might as well get the action steps straight from an angel, Geronimo. Here's Plato, Unconditional Love Spirit Guide. You can see the old man's face right here, mustache.
Yeah, right yeah, I see it.
Yeah, no hugs for him. They're sweaty. And people get just blinded by the whole experience. They're like, oh my God, I'm getting hugs. I'm getting answers. This is incredible. They feel it. So it's like that Maxim commercial from the 70s. The guy sunk in the chair, speakers blowing volume at him. You get so overwhelmed, you forget about the hug thing. No hugs, a fist pump, tap on the shoulder. They're sweaty. And I get a lot of comments later like, hey, Plato's hug, it's sweaty. And I'm like, I told you. So it's a very experiential thing. And what's great is you're not making fun. You guys have the hardest jobs in the world, clearing, helping, identifying, figuring it out. But instead of having to walk into a haunted house and have the other side of the picture equation, this is the opposite. This is like going to Disneyland, Disney World in the old days. It's not a small world after all. It's really big. It's fun. You're in your heart. You're having a good time. And there's no rules. You can have your cotton candy, popcorn, Coke, and you're not going to get a stomach ache and do the ride at the same time.
Incredible. How can people find you?
MichaelAndreFord.com. So it's Michael like the angel, Michael, Andre like the champagne, Ford like the truck or car. And I've got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MichaelAndreFord. You can see it on the screen and you can see my website on the screen. That YouTube channel has it's free. Subscribe, like, share, but first do it for our host here. But it's got tons of content. You can see the sage being blown. My guests every Sunday at the end of the show, they've already met angels with me, and they're like seasoned healers, have been around. I'll have Alan Steinfeld taping tomorrow, who's been around forever. If people know that name, but they've seen angels with me. They've some of them have recorded 570 episodes in 14 years on their shows. Yeah, and so they've done a lot, but they do it on the show for you. So anyone who needs an injection of confidence, like that's the kind of cheat sheet that's free. I got a little $4.99 book at Amazon, Listening to Angels, 100% written by angels, if I can just say that. If you're worried about it and you think I had to have written it, thank you. But I saw balls light as I was typing, and it's so simple. It's a 1-page forward, half-page intro, 4 pages how-to. Troubleshooting page for that 1 day a month or 1 day a week that's really hard, you can't let go, and then an index that I think's or appendix that's the best part. Michael and others, big picture. How could this be so? Why so many angels now? And an epilogue by an angel named Dale, who coached a really famous gymnast, that puts life into a metaphor of an undergraduate degree, graduate degree. You got to have one before the other. The undergraduate degree is recognizing the difference between these two places, your heart and your brain, the two different flows. If you wanted to say Darth Vader and Luke, do it. But once you figure out the difference, why would you ever touch a hot stove again? And by the way, we're going to touch the hot stove every day half our
Right.
day. Thinking's not going away. But the second you can just ease up 7% more lightness in your heart, the red carpet rolls out, the trumpets, and you get going on your unique life path, which is the graduate degree. You've got a very special, unique life path. And that's back to somebody, if you're 70 or 30, you thought you blew it, you never did. That's the how with the universe for a final, happy, hopeful message. Let the universe do the figuring out for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Charlotte, thank you. You've been amazing. I appreciate it.
Like to have you on again sometime.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you have a good rest of your night and the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. That was a really good thing. I learned a lot about that. I never dreamed in my wildest dreams I could talk to the angels that much, right? Because the psychic development classes I've taught, it's always been talking with maybe your guardian. Okay, tomorrow is going to be kind of different because one of the pre-recorded videos that we did with the Hamdens, the contactee couple, who were taken aboard all their lives, and they actually met aboard the UFOs, aboard the ships. I did a pre-interview with them, and it's been first seen by people over on the Patreon, and it's going to be here aired. Sorry, I'm kind of tired tonight, guys. Aired here tomorrow night, so I won't be live. I'll be in the chat room, but I won't be live. The show will be live. I won't be live. So you guys are going to get to see that interview. It's a really interesting interview because it's the after effects of what happened. The skills that they gained after they were taken aboard. Because a lot of these cases, people that get taken aboard those ships come back, and their psychic abilities are just going wild. There's just different things that go on, and so I got the chance to talk to them about that. So hopefully, you guys will enjoy that. I'm sorry, I'm tired. Like I said, I did a 2-hour interview this morning, and I've just been running all day. But anyway, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. And if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're equal opportunity here at California Haunts Radio. And I will see you tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I will be as I said, I won't be live, but I will be in the chat room. So I'm just going to let y'all go, and I'll give you his information right now. Websites, youtube.com/@ Michael André Ford, and then michaelandreford.com. Listening to Angels is the book, one of the books. And the other book is Glowstick Zen. And you can get those books at Amazon. Anyway, like I said, I'm tired, but it's been a great day, and this interview I got this morning is going to be really cool. That'll be over on the Patreon next week. I mean, not next week, but Wednesday. I'll have that up and rolling on the Patreon. So if you guys are members over at the Patreon, you can see that this week. Okay, well, I want to thank you all, and I will see you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. in the chat room while we listen to the Hamdens interview. So sorry, guys. Have a good night. I'm so tired. So